Do you live in more of a rural area? If you'd say yes, you're probably used to seeing the deer, raccoons, possums, maybe also the foxes, coyotes, and the occasional skunk. While these animals can be a nuisance, they're part of the larger ecosystem. Even in suburban areas in cities, these same species still exist, however, aren't as visible. The reason you don't see them is because they're nocturnal. Many are part of the original wildlife and, like us, are focused on survival.
There's urban wildlife all over the planet.
That's Sophia Kimming, a researcher at the Leibniz Institute and author of The Living Night, on the secret wonders of wildlife after dark. She takes us back to when she was working on a project in Berlin, Germany that involved tracking down and collaring foxes. Night after night, she spent several hours driving through the desolate streets of the city. That's when she started noticing all kinds of animal activity, even wild boars walking on a sidewalk near a bus stop. 3 hours later, commuters were waiting at that same bus stop, unaware of the nocturnal visitors who had previously been there.
While doing my fieldwork, I realized how interesting it is, how different the city looks. It's like you see all those structures that are clearly made for people, but they are used by animals. Like you see the bus stop and there's a wild boar family roaming the bus stop. Or you see the cars, but they're not moving, they're parked, and there is a raccoon walking across the car. And so I got really intrigued by how this is a completely different way to experience my city. So then I started actively going out to discover more nocturnal wildlife.
Unlike the majority of mammals in the animal kingdom, we humans find it much easier to get around in the daylight. But once upon a time, all mammals were diurnal, meaning they slept at night and were active during the day. However, 200 million years ago, 70% of these mammals transitioned to nocturnal activity. What happened?
There was a time when dinosaurs were the dominant creatures on this planet. They were present in all kinds of habitats. And in this time, the very early mammals evolved. So many of those ecological niches of those habitats were already occupied by someone. And they had to be creative and they had to choose the niches that were still available. And with mammals had a very new feature in evolution. They had a very fast metabolism. They had fur and a constant body temperature, which made them perfectly suitable for surviving at night. So they started developing in the shadow of the dinosaurs. And as they shared the world for several million years, it's deeply in the history of mammals to be predominantly species of the night. And then only later, some of the mammal species discovered the daytime for themselves.
So when an opossum tips over your trash can at night and wakes you up, blame it on the dinosaurs. For most people living in North America, an opossum looks like a big scruffy rat with a long hairless tail. But Kimming finds them charming and is fascinated by their unique survival tactics, such as feigning death. That's where we get the saying, playing possum. They even emit a strong odor of decomposition.
They put a lot of effort in it. It's not just not moving. The heart rate drops, the breathing rate drops. They emit this scent of decomposition to make it more believable. So it's a very interesting evolutionary strategy to get rid of your enemies, because many predators don't like carrion. They want fresh prey. So when they think that the possum is dead, then they will not be interested in it. So as a creature that doesn't have much they don't have long claws, they don't have big teeth, they cannot really defend themselves against predators. So apparently that was the best way out of a very dangerous situation from time to time.
Interestingly, there aren't any opossums in Europe, and never were. They are a uniquely North American animal. Kimming thinks we should have a better appreciation for them and for all creatures of the night who are chronically under-researched. For instance, the Red List of Threatened Species issued by the International Union for Conservation of Nature reports that over 80% of nocturnal animals are data deficient. This means that researchers don't have enough information about these species to assess whether or not their habitat is threatened.
We really have to know more about those species to actually know how important they are for us, for our own survival, for our ecosystems. And then, of course, species also have intrinsic values. And nocturnal species face some problems that other species don't. Like all species suffer from habitat loss. But nocturnal species also have to deal with light pollution. So if we don't consider their needs and interests, then we don't realize such things, such as light pollution. If we don't think about nocturnal species, we may not even notice that this is a problem.
And this artificial light emitting from buildings has very real effects on the biological rhythms of nocturnal animals.
Creatures of the night have actually evolved to this darkness. So their senses, biological rhythms, everything is dependent on it. That's, for example, like when do you start preparing for hibernation, or when to shed leaves for a tree, or when to sing for a songbird. So especially biological rhythms affected by this artificial light at night, because it disturbs the natural measurements that animals have, their methods to know like what time of the day and also time in the year.
Another very important aspect that's affected by artificial light is orientation, aka a sense of direction, which is crucial for migrating birds. It's also vital for hatching baby sea turtles that orient themselves by starlight and the position of the moon. When artificial light bleaches the night sky, they can't tell where the ocean is and wander off in the wrong direction. In order to nurture a greater appreciation for wildlife at night, Kimming encourages listeners to stay up late and discover for themselves what animals are up to.
Although it's a little bit tricky and we have to overcome some primal fears when we do so, there's so many magic, promising things to discover in the night, not just wildlife encounters as, meeting some fox on the sideway, but also like nature phenomena like seeing fireflies, for example, which is a magic experience. So we really miss something out if we don't give it a try.
Sophia Kimming's book, The Living Night, on the Secret Wonders of Wildlife After Dark, is available now online and can be requested through your local bookstore. To find out more about our guests this week, visit viewpointsradio.org. For more behind the scenes, search Viewpoints Radio on Instagram, Facebook, and X. This segment was written and produced by Polly Hansen. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Gary Price.